and welcome back to my channel. If you've never been here before, I'm all about creating my dream wardrobe from scratch, and I'm taking you along for the ride so maybe you can recreate some of the pieces that I make at home. I feel really like itching with creativity today. I feel like because the last project that I was working on was a replica basically of a dress from a brand, which you might have seen. I just want to do something really original today, something that's not particularly inspired by a specific dress that I saw. I've really had denim on my mind lately. I was thinking about doing a jumpsuit or doing like a short jumpsuit, maybe even doing like denim jeans. I don't know, I feel like this is something that I haven't explored so much yet, so I feel like it's something exciting that I want to venture into. I have a lot of events coming up next week at work, and I want to create something that I can wear there, something funky, cool, still very put together. So I think I'm gonna create a denim dress with a couple of metal details, very boxy cut, short sleeves actually. I already created a sketch here. So this is what I'm thinking here. It's basically just a short dress. It has boxy cut sleeves without a shoulder seam, some pockets in the bust area, probably also on the butt, and then also some cool belt detail. And these little things here are supposed to be, I don't know what they're called, like dungaree buckles, you know, the ones that you use to close, snap up dungarees here. I think that would make a cool belt, why not? And then also a metal zip in the front, a cool like boyish collar. I think that would look really cool in a very dark denim, something contrasting for stitching, a warm beige or something. So that's what I'm up to right now. So I'm gonna make the pattern now, then I need to head out and find the right denim and some additions that I might need, and then I can start. I have the whole weekend for this, so I hope I'm gonna be finished by tomorrow. Okay, let's see. Okay, as per usual, I'm going to start with my bodice blocks. So we have the front and we have the back. If you don't have bodice blocks for yourself yet, I do have a tutorial for this. I'm gonna link it in the description. So you should really consider making one for yourself, because that's the starting point for almost any pattern you could possibly want to make, as I usually always say at this part in my videos. So I'm gonna start by tracing the parts of this that I do need, which for the front is the front neckline. I'm gonna then close my shoulder dart so I have the true length of my shoulder. I'm going to also just with a guideline indicate where the armhole would be usually, because I'm doing a raglan sleeve which doesn't have a shoulder seam. I won't actually be needing this, but I'm gonna just indicate where it would be normally. Then I'm going to use my side seam without the dart closed, because I want to have a bit of ease in my side seams, because this is going to be a quite boxy cut. I'm gonna stick to the side seam without the dart, and then I'm going to, with a guideline, indicate where my waist seam is, because this is going to be a dress. Naturally, we're gonna continue down here. All right, so I'm now going to work on my raglan sleeve, which actually is quite simple. So this is my natural shoulder. I'm going to extend this shoulder by as long as I think I need for it to hang down my arm in the area that I want it to. So I'm just gonna extend this, and then I'm gonna, in a bit of an angle here, also extend it down here. And then I want to make sure that I am shortening this in a 90-degree angle to this line, to my shoulder line, like this. Right, so that's the raglan sleeve done. Then I need to figure out how long I want the dress to be. It's going to be a short dress, so it's probably, for me personally, that's probably around 80 centimeters from the nape of my neck to where the hem hits, because this is not true to scale. I'm just making an arbitrary line here. And then the skirt, I think I'm going to give a bit of an A-line shape. So it's not going straight down, but it's more something like this, maybe. And then we're gonna raise this part just ever so slightly and round it off here. Now I can think about the style lines. This is the general shape of the dress, but now I need to think about, you know, the design of it more specifically. So I am going to have a saddle situation. What is this called? A saddle, no. Ah, can't remember. Anyways, but the dress is going to have a seam here. Then we are going to have pockets, and actually that's it. Continuing on with the back, I need a straight line. Now I'm going to place the center back onto that line, And again, I'm gonna trace the areas that I need. And what you want to make sure is that the width of the cuff of your arm in the back and in the front are the same. I'm going to replicate the skirt length in the back, square out, and now I can think about my style lines in the back. And I'm thinking I'm gonna make this a little bit more interesting by lowering this part in the back, like so. So we're gonna have a seam here, and there probably will be pockets, regular denim pockets, something like this. And that is it really. So we have the center back here, and this is going to be cut on a fold, on a fabric fold. So when we open it, it's going to be doubled up. Now I'm going to cut out these pieces. Okay, so we have the front and the back skirt. We have the front and the back raglan sleeves. So what's missing now is the collar. What we now have to do to figure out the collar is we have to take the front and the back and then join them at the shoulder here. We are going to measure the distance from this point to this point, which is the center back point and the center front point of our neckline. We're going to take this distance. Once we have that distance measured, there's a very, very simple way. So I'm going to square out just here from a straight edge of my piece of paper, like this. This edge here is my center back fold. So there's not going to be a seam here. On this line, we are going to measure what we measured as half of our neck circumference here and mark it on that line. At that point, we are going to square downwards in a perpendicular angle, and we're going to mark on this line 2 centimeters, like that. Now we have to grab a curved ruler, and we're going to connect this point with this point in a slightly slanted curve, like this. When you've done that, you're going to grab your ruler and try to find the perpendicular line to the beginning of this line. So you're going to place it somewhat like that and then square upwards like this. So this is basically your neck hole, and this is the end of your collar. For the height of the collar in the back, that's just a rule of thumb that I remember from fashion school. A collar often would be 7 centimeters high in the back. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to raise this in the back by 7 centimeters, and then I square out from here until these 2 lines match. And this is technically a very, very simple collar. And that is it. And like I said, this is going to be cut on a fold here in the center back, so you have this piece mirrored in the end. And this, my friends, is the pattern done. Quickly getting the denim. Alright, here are all of my pieces. So we have the skirt back and front, we have the pockets, and I decided to cut the... damn, I still need to look up what this is called. I always forget. Well, the top part that holds the raglan sleeves, I cut that so that there is no seam in the sleeve. And that's the collar, and this I just cut because I thought it would be nice to have something to overturn the zip on the inside. So we have a clean finish there as well. And now I can start assembling everything. All right, so we can start sewing. There are a few things that you need for this project. One thing is you will want to sew with a needle in your machine that is a bit on the sturdier side. So I have a leather sewing machine needle here, but I'm also using a 100 needle on my machine currently, so I think that should do. We will need 2 kinds of threads. I currently have black thread in my sewing machine, which I'm going to use to assemble everything, but then also I bought this a bit sturdier denim thread to create my decorative seams, which I'm going to top stitch. I also bought this metal zip, which is going to go into the center front, and I also have these dungaree buckles here, which I've had for a while, and it's about time I use some of them. As per usual, you will need some sewing pins, you will need some scissors as well, and that's about it. If you have these things, you should be able to recreate this dress. So let's get to sewing. Okay, so I'm going to start by assembling the skirt, which I'm going to do by, as per usual, facing front and back right sides touching, and pinning everything together along the side seams. Alright, so I decided to add a double-sided dart in the back just because I feel like otherwise the dress is going to be a little bit too bulky all around. So I basically just drew it straight onto the fabric with an erasable, water erasable fabric pen. This in like so. I can already tell that the denim is kind of losing color. I have like bluish nails here, which is not great, but it's fine. It's what it is. So just pinning the double-sided dart, and that's just gonna help the dress take on this hourglassy kind of shape while still being very straight and minimalist. Okay, and when I feel like everything is in sync and symmetrical, I can sew this in. The skirt is now sewn together. We have the double-ended darts in the back. I already serged the side seams, so this is prepared. And before I can add the yoke on top of the skirt piece, I will have to prepare it. So this is the yoke. You can see this is the neck hole. So when I place it correctly, you can start to see the sleeves shape right here. These are the sleeves. And I'm going to place everything so that the right sides are touching. And I'm going to sew this little part of the sleeves shut for now. And that's then going to enable me to attach the yoke on top of the skirt. Right, so now that the yoke is prepared, I can start to attach to the skirt. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to start in the back, and I'm going to snip the seam allowance here just by 1 centimeter. That's going to enable me to navigate around this V shape here that the yoke has. So I'm going to start by pinning the center back, and then I'm moving this along. I now have one distance between the center back and the center front pinned in, and I'm going to sew this for starters before I pin in the other side. Okay, so one side is sewn in, and now I can pin in the other side. It's going to make this easier for me. I'm also going to snip the seam allowance at the end of this V in my skirt panel, just a little bit. So this is going to make it easier for me to create a beautiful, crisp edge. Okay, so now I can sew the other half. Alrighty, so this is what we're looking at the moment, and I actually quite like it. I think it has a really cool shape. It's very uniformy. There is the seam right here. The sleeves are looking really cool and very like straight and 1960s kind of style, which I like. And I think this is a good start. I'm now going to serge the seams, and then I'm going to start to top stitch the yoke seams. So we have this contrasting stitch on the dress as well. Good morning. It is the next day. It's a Sunday. It's beautiful outside. I would much rather do something fun and hang out in the sunshine. However, I'm not gonna procrastinate on this. I want to get this dress finished, and I think I can do it today. It actually looks really quite good already. So the dress in and of itself is assembled. I already prepped the pockets yesterday. So the next step is going to be to sew all of my style seams, my decor seams, which I'm gonna do with this denim thread from Gütermann. This is what you use for decorative seams on denim and denim jackets and all that jazz. So that's what I'm gonna use for that. And it's gonna be a bit of a challenge because I will use the decorative stitch to attach my pockets. So they have to be Perfect. Once I've done that, I can then focus on the collar. And once I've done the collar, I can add the zip. Once I've added the zip, I can do the hem, and then I can think about the belt detail that I want to make, because that's the finishing touch. Yeah, I mean, it's still quite a lot to do, but I'm feeling hopeful, so let's see. Alright, so now this is pinned together. One side is a little smaller than the other, so it's kind of like bending upwards like that, which is what we want, because that's going to help the collar overturn later. And now I'm just going to sew around it. Alright, so now I've sewn this. I'm going to see what it looks like when I turn it around. Also considering understitching the seam allowance so it lies as flat as possible. Alright, so this is what the collar looks like. Really nice. I'm really pleased with this. I think I will add the pockets first before I do the collar, just so I can see what it looks like. And I'm gonna do that on a scrap piece first. Alright, so I gave it a couple of test stitches and I had to change the tension on my bobbin thread because it was pulling the top thread down, which you don't want, so this looks a lot better here, this line. And I'm using a stitch length of 3.5 because I think it looks nice. It's a good distance to work with. And I think now I can give it a go. What I have to do now is first top stitch these decorative seams, and then I can suss out where I want my pockets to be on this situation. All right, it's time for lunch. Point where I can attach the collar, and I already checked if it's the right length, which it is thanks to my impeccable measuring skills. What I did is I snipped the neckline just by 0.5 centimeters here, and that's where I'm gonna start pinning my collar in. And what I'll do is I will place it so that the right side is facing out as I want it to, and now I'm gonna attach the left side of the collar to this neckline. That's the first step. Alright, so it's now sewn on with the machine. I already gave it a press, and as you can see, I pressed the outer corner over by 0.5 centimeter. And now I'm going to hand sew this down. I know I could do it with my machine, but I just feel like doing it by hand. So that's what I'm gonna do. Alright, the collar is sewn in and looks really good. I'm really pleased with it. And now that is done, the next thing will be to add the zip, really, I think. That's what I can do now. I think I have to trim my nails after this. They're so blue. I'm a little afraid that when I wash this, it's going to like lose so much color that it's, you know, kind of like bleached out looking, but we will see. I definitely have to wash this before I wear it, otherwise I'm gonna look a bit ridiculous all day. So I will pin this in step by step, and then I have these little facing pieces here that I'm going to sandwich the zipper in between, so I also have something comfortable and nice on the inside. That's the plan. So I'm gonna pin this in now, and I'm gonna quicken this up for you so it's not getting too boring. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a zip. or definitely quite a bit shorter than it is right now. Something like this. Alright, now we gotta overturn this beast of a belt, and for that I got myself a chopstick. I hope that this is going to work. It's a very, very long belt, and anything could happen at this point, but I'll give it a go. Oh, look at this. This is ridiculous. I've never had this happen before. Even the stick came out bluish, but my hands, oh my gosh. Alright, the belt is overturned and pressed. And then I can have a look at these bad boys. I changed my mind. I think my initial design for the belt was a little bit too complicated, not in terms of being able to make it, but I think it would annoy me on a daily basis having to buckle and unbuckle the dungaree buckles constantly, and I want to keep it simple, so it's going to be a very simple tie belt, and that means I'm finished with the dress. So let me show you what it looks like.